Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to speak to a very important issue within the 8th District. Just yesterday, the DEQ issued final approval to begin operations of a hazardous waste deep injection well, just a stone's throw from I-94, from important rail lines, and from one of the busiest airports for passengers in the entire country. This was on the heels of the EPA issuing their final approval to begin operations of this facility. And it's troubling because of all of the corruption that has surrounded the project, all of the questions about questionable activity. To give a very brief history of this issue, this is something that we have been dealing with for more than 2 decades. And the facility, the proposal was opposed by the communities in the early going, and nevertheless was allowed to begin operation. Less than a year after operation, the facilities had leaks, had multiple violations, were actually shut down, and the company that was operating the wells at that time, like we told everyone, went poof. They disappeared. And the ownership of the facility reverted back to the Detroit Police Fire pension system. And fast forward, an individual named Jim Pappas sought to acquire ownership and engaged in, based on court papers, some pretty questionable, apparently some pretty questionable behavior. There was a plea agreement that was signed by Mr. Riddle, which resulted in him going to prison, which named Mr. Pappas as allegedly giving $20,000 for favorable treatment from a named person. At that time, Ms. Monica Conyers was a member of the pension system. Fast forward a couple years, and 2 individuals, non-elected from the pension system, were named in indictments which said that the Mr. Pappas paid $20,000 to those individuals in poker chips, again, for favorable treatment in relationship to transferring ownership of this facility to Mr. Pappas. These are on the record as fact. They are not in dispute. And so the question is, what is to be done at this time? What needs to happen, Mr. President, is that the U.S. Attorney in this situation needs to finish the job, needs to bring all the people that are accountable in this situation to bring that accountability to bear. We have asked the Attorney General about this situation, and he has indicated that there is an open investigation. But the troubling thing is that even if Mr. Pappas were indicted and convicted, the state lacks the authority to revoke the licenses. So therefore, we have Senate Bill 20, which passed out of this chamber months ago unanimously, and I thank all the members for their support on that issue, and it's sitting over in the House. So 2 things need to happen. The U.S. Attorney needs to finish the job and bring people who are accountable to bear to justice, and we need to give the state explicit authority to be able to revoke licenses if they engage in corruption or bribes in the furtherance of obtaining a state permit, which we think may have happened in this situation. And so it's as simple as that. We are calling on those 2 actions. And Mr. President, I thank you for your time today, and I ask that my remarks be printed in the journal.